Hey everyone, so today we're talking about the cheapest video light that money can buy, and I'm actually using it right now. Also, before we get into the meat of this video, make sure you stay to the end because if this first option doesn't work for you, I do have a second video light option that might work better. So what is this super budget-friendly video light setup? Well, it's actually natural light, also known as window lighting. And if I scoot my chair over a little bit, you'll see that I'm using window light. So as you can see, I'm using natural light to my left, provided by this window to light my entire scene. And here's a few reasons why natural light is a good option. First of all, it costs nothing. Natural light you can get anywhere. It's provided by the sun and it's not gonna cost you anything. You don't have to pay for the sun. So it's readily available to everyone and won't even cost you a dime. Number two, it takes almost no time to set up. And I say almost no time because you might have to open up your blinds, but that's all you gotta do. And if you're filming outside, you don't even have to do that. So yeah, setup time at most is probably 10 seconds. Number three, it's available wherever you go. When you're outside, you can pretty much film wherever you want. However, there are a few limitations if you're indoors. For instance, if you want to film in a certain area of your house that doesn't have a window to provide you with that natural light, then you can't really use natural light to light that specific scene. However, if you're shooting something like a YouTube video and not a high budget film, then it probably makes more sense to move where there is natural lighting, instead of trying to make that other location work out. And number four, it gives you a very natural look. For whatever reason, I find it very difficult to imitate this natural look with my video lights that I own. And to be honest with you, I really like this natural look. And so do a lot of other people out there on YouTube, Instagram, and just social media in general. Alright, so we just talked about why natural light is a good option. Now let's talk about why it could be a bad option. First of all, it's not always available depending on the time, because depending on the time of day and the time of year will determine how much natural light you have available. In the wintertime, you're going to have the least amount of daylight available to you, and then on the flip side, in the summer, you're going to have the most amount of daylight available. And this is because in the winter, the sun is going to rise a little later in the day and set a little bit earlier in the day. And then in the summer, it's the complete opposite. So that is a downside. Alright, number two, your white balance and exposure might change. So throughout the day, the sun's obviously going to be moving. There's going to be clouds coming in and out. And these changes in lighting are obviously going to cause changes to your white balance and exposure. So it becomes very difficult to set just one exposure and one white balance for the entire day. And if I'm using natural light, what I do to help with this issue is set my white balance and ISO both to auto. Because if you're a solo YouTuber and your lighting is constantly changing, you don't want to be fiddling with your camera, you just want to be making great content. However, if you are shooting a more professional film or commercial or something like that, then you're probably going to want to keep full control over your camera. And if this is the case, don't worry about setting your white balance and ISO both to auto. Instead, leave them on manual, and you're going to have to keep an eye on them throughout the day, just to make sure that if your lighting does change, you can make those changes in camera when it happens. Alright, and number three, if you're shooting outdoors, you'll most likely need an ND filter. And this is because the sunlight outside is just so intense and bright that your camera can't handle it if you want to keep those cinematic settings. So instead, we slap something like an ND filter on the front of our lens to decrease the amount of light coming in onto the sensor. So if your ISO is all the way down at its lowest setting, rather than messing with the shutter speed or the aperture, you can put an ND filter on the front of your lens, and this is going to solve the brightness issue. And if you're still unsure what an ND filter is, just think of it as sunglasses for your camera. It helps block out some of the light so it can see better. That's all it is. And number four, you can't control it. If you want your light darker, a different Kelvin temperature, or some other adjustment, you basically can't do anything about it. They do make things like reflectors, light gels, light filters, and a bunch of other products. But as far as making changes to the light source itself, you don't have any options. So you kind of just have to work with what you got. So here we are back in my office. Now that we've gone through the pros and cons of natural light, I want to show you how to use it. Alright, so here's my current setup. I have my camera directly in front of me with the window light off to my right. It's on like a 45 to 90 degree angle with me and my camera. And this is what it looks like off to the side. And then I'll show you from this angle too. camera directly in front of me, window light off on a 45 to 90 degree angle. And it might not look like a 45 to 90 degree angle, but it is because the natural light is coming straight in through the window like that. It's not coming in on any angles. And that angle of the light we're talking about goes for both window light like this and sunlight if you're outdoors. So here we are outside. I just wanted to show you guys real quick what it looks like outdoors with this setup. So we got the sun off to my left. It's on a 45 degree angle with me and the camera. If I show you real quick, we got the sun in the background. It's kind of blown out, but still, if I'm shooting outside in this sort of situation, that's how I want it set up. However, if you're shooting outside on an overcast day, you don't really got to worry about the angle of the light because the light source is diffused across the entire sky. So because the light source is so large and diffused at this point, your scene should be evenly lit for the most part. But anyways, jumping back to the angle of the light, if you're having a little trouble setting up where your camera should be, what you want to look for is a little splash of light on the dark side of your face. So if your light source is off to your right side, then the dark side of your face is the left side. And like I said, what you want to aim for is just a tiny bit of light to spill over onto the left side of your face. This is considered an appealing look in photography and videography. All right, so let's say you tried out natural light, you didn't like it, or maybe you're just looking for a different option. I got you covered. And the video light I recommend is the one I'm using right now. It's called the GVM 80W, also known as the GVM LS P80S. And I actually just did a review video about this light. You can check that out above in the card. Also, if you want to buy this video light, I have links down in the description. But if you don't need a physical video light kit, then natural lighting will most likely get the job done. All right, that's it for me. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more just like this one, subscribe to the channel by clicking, boom, right here. Thanks for watching, and always remember to capture great moments. Peace.